Right, so we had a massive fourth gear failure on the van just outside Cornwall. So we've come up to Aidan Talbot's in North Wales to try and sort out the problems, open up the gearbox and see what the damage is. Time will tell. We're just going to open the box up shortly and do a bit of video of all the chaos that may well be inside there. So let's open it up and see what happens. Sludgy stem, according to Aidan, is the main bearing on its way out.
That's what it signifies. One of the main bearings pretty worn on its way out. Well, we were wondering what you've done to fourth gear, and one of the possibilities would be to strip the teeth off fourth gear.
So it just means that something else is obliterated.
It's slightly different. Yes, something else. It's synchro, or you've broken the gear.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've just found there's been a bit of leakage just here coming out of the box, probably due to a little bit of corrosion on the face of the bell housing.
On both, you can see the.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of corrosion there on the face of the gearbox. First sightings of the oil, and as it poured into the tub, there was a lot of debris came out. So we're in fact there is some of the debris now.
Where?
On the end of that magnet. Look.
Oh.
That's fourth gear.
Yeah, that's what remains of fourth gear. We think we have found a bit of damage on the pinion. 3 teeth have chewed something up, which is not good news.
That's the big bearing that supports the big reduction gear.
Right.
That gives you low G and low reverse gear.
Oh, okay.
So this is the nose cone. This is just the bit that outputs to the front.
Okay.
And if it had a decoupler, this lot would be functioning, and there would be a sliding.
So is that the bit that runs to the front gearbox?
That's the bit that the prop attaches to.
Prop shaft, yeah.
Yep. Main shaft. This is the end of the main shaft. That's the input shaft. That's turning this reduction gear, which is returning this shaft, which is then turning this idler shaft, which is then turning the reverse idler, changing the direction of rotation of reverse gear, which is what you can see. You know, this is your design criteria. We want four-wheel drive, we want a low first and reverse, and we want you're not allowed to modify the chassis, so it's got to fit within the space that's available. And all they did was work out what they did, and then sort of literally just sort of wrapped it in casing.
Yeah.
Using as little material as they can possibly get
it's all
away
really
with,
tight in there, isn't it?
whilst making it as strong, because the case is basically about 6 mil thick, pretty much everywhere.
Right.
So where it looks thicker, if you look on the other side, often you'll find there's nothing there.
Is that the same as the main housing?
Yeah.
6
It's
mil?
all about 6 mil thick.
And there we've got a few more bits of the fourth gear that's disintegrated. I imagine there's still probably quite a few more bits in there somewhere. Amazing that all of that can happen in an instant.
Well, this is it.
You know.
Literally, as the first tooth broke and stripped, as it kept turning, it just took every rotation, just took another tooth off, and 50 rotations later it was stripped.
Okay, there it is. The stayer section of the gearbox dropped straight off, which at least is some good news so far.
Yeah, G-gear's in good condition. Main shaft bearing. I said you got a bearing on the way out. See here, the main shaft bearing is spun in the case, and it's actually it's held in position by the half moon. There's a flap on the side of the bearing, and the half moon sits against that and stops it spinning in the case.
Right, okay.
Well, you can see there that it's loaded up to the point where
Where the moon has moved.
Forced it to, and the moon has then broken. Has broken the shell.
This is the half moon we're talking about just here.
That's the half moon.
And that section of the bearing
It's been
casing
broken out.
is gone, and the half moon's
And that would
working its
also
way
account,
into it.
that'd probably be where the damaged. Well, no. See, that's probably the bits that are in this end that we found in this
Yeah,
end.
okay, yeah.
So what we're looking at?
So there, look, this half moon section
Yeah.
is there to stop this bearing casing spinning in the case. And what's happened is the case of the bearing there
Yeah.
has split,
Right.
which has let the half moon move.
Which has meant that.
It's jammed the bearing, hopefully, and stopped the bearing rotating. There's no evidence that the bearing's spun in the case, which is good news.
So what gears are these? What's this?
What you've got here is the main shaft,
Yeah.
pinion shaft.
Yeah.
This is the first R&G Synchro,
Yeah.
and that's reverse gear.
Okay, so we've just had the RG Synchro out of the box, and all of that looks in pretty good condition according to Aidan. So at least there's some good news. We've just looked at everything here, and all of this is in pretty damn good nick also. Very minimal metal found in here from that bearing at the front there. There's a few little odds and scrapes, but as Aidan was just explaining a second ago, that this oil port here is blocked, and that one-way valve back into the main case has basically stopped any debris from this end reaching the other part of the case.
It's clever. That's up there.
So that's the RG Synchro inner hub. And that's in perfect condition on both sides. So reverse gear's in perfect condition. You can still see the machining on the oil face of the gear.
What's that you're taking off there?
This is the blank that stops the oil flowing through. Normally on two-wheel drive this is open, this port. This is the selector shaft for first and second gear,
Right.
and normally that would be open on a two-wheel drive, and the oil, if you were driving uphill, the oil would go to the differential end of the gearbox, and this end of the gearbox would start to run a bit dry. So they put this one-way valve here to block this port. They block that with a blanking plug. So the first place oil can run through is that bearing shell. And even behind the main shaft bearing is an aluminium ring. So when you're going uphill, the oil is at that angle, is sat against that bearing,
Right, okay.
giving it as much lubrication as it can handle.
Stop it running dry.
Yeah, because that's the bearing that's taking all the load from the engine.
Is that the bearing that is nearly spun in the box?
Yes.
Okay.
And it does move in the case, that it has worn the case to the point where it moves quite freely. You have got some play in the pinion bearing, but not much. Which, for 70,000 miles, that's what you'd expect. It's got some wear, but it's only very little bit side to side. There's no up and down play, and that's why there's no damage to the G gear or anything else. So, you can also see the wear in the bearing. If I hold the shell and stop the shell moving, can you see the inner shell and the balls moving?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the wear in the bearing, that main shaft bearing. That's why I say I'd expect that to be grumbly.
Okay.
All the selector rod bearings are still working pretty much correctly. So that's all good. You see the circlip on the main shaft has got got wear on it.
Yep, I see that.
Basically the debris from that broken bearing went behind G-gear and it's just been rubbing in there. It's not done any damage, but it's just it's that see there? That little groove there, that shiny bit.
Yep, yep.
It's just picked up a little bit of debris on that and run against that. And possibly when that's moved forwards, it's also picked up on it.